All right, I think we have all the people in the attendee list, so we'll just go ahead and get started. Once again, my name is Sion Bhatia, and this is the session
Um,
5 for Entered App Building.
yeah, and I'm Soho Bhatia. Yeah, so welcome back to session 5, and we're going to be building one more app today. And yeah, so just again, you guys are probably familiar with this by now, but if you have any questions, you can always click the Q&A button up top, and that should allow you to ask us questions, and we'll answer them throughout the session.
So, just as a recap from last time, we went over the if and else statements. So if you don't remember, that was just the statements or condition statements for when certain things need to happen. So if something happens, then we will do this. So it's just like an if and then. And then we also went over renaming our UI elements. So basically, just so that it would be easier for us to program and also build our app. It just make it easier. So we taught you guys how to rename any of the UI elements. And then finally, we built the Pong app. Um, and then we also talked about the app showcase, which we will talk about more today. And we'll talk about how to submit your app if you have already built one. And if you haven't, that's completely fine. Just make sure to build it before our next class.
All right, and then future sessions. This is our second to last week, so next week will be our last class, and we've already completed 4 sessions. So that's great, and we're pretty much nearing the end of intro to app building.
Yeah, so as Saul mentioned, next week is our last week. So today we'll be building the trivia app. So I'll first talk about the app showcase after this, and I'll talk about how to submit your file, like the project, and then we'll go over a couple of concepts like lists and indexes, which is something you need to learn before building our trivia app today. Um, and then one thing to know is that next week, we'll talk about this more later, but next week will be, since it's our last week, we won't be building an actual app next week. We'll mostly take our time to um, do the app showcase and a couple of other things, which we'll get into. But the trivia app is the most complex app that we've built so far. So today we're just trying to get through the entire app, as well as teach you guys some concepts related to building the app.
Yeah, and so as Simon mentioned, we went over this on the last class, and we'll go over it more today. The app showcase is essentially where you guys get to use your creativity and what you guys have learned inside the class, and put it to the test by creating your own app. So you want to create this app before our sixth class, and we will feature you on our website and in your own special way, to show and represent what you guys have built. So again, the whole point of this app showcase is to really explore your creativity, and it's a really good chance to explore and use your learning to the test, right? Because at the end of the day, we can teach you guys the apps, but you should be thinking of the ideas. You should be thinking of the logic. You should be thinking of the UI, the code. Put it all together and make your own app. So that's what all of this is about. And again, it's a really, really fun opportunity, especially just something to do for fun. So Sun will explain some more information on how to submit the app, and we'll get right into it.
Um, I'll just get into like what will we counting as a submission. So like you guys can submit whatever you want. Basically, and use your creativity to build whatever you want. We've taught a lot of like ways to build the apps. We've built a lot of apps, so I'm hoping that a lot of you guys have experience with just building simple apps, not too complex if you can't, but just go ahead and build whatever you want. The only rules we have for like putting your app on our website and being a part of the app showcase is one, build your own app. Like, don't go and copy other people's code or anything, or don't have people help you. Build your own app. Use your own creativity to build whatever you want. Um, Second thing, we will not be accepting any kind of like we won't be accepting if an app that we've already built. I know you guys want to like publish like submit your Pong app, but unfortunately we won't be able to put that on our website. So just if you want to make a different game, if you want to make a different kind of app, go ahead and submit that. Basically, anything that's your own work and anything that we haven't built, we'll basically accept. And then just another reminder to submit it on Monday, basically the day before class. So next week we'll have it on Tuesday at 5:30. So if you could submit it by Monday, that'd also be great, and that also help us to compile your um, submissions and then put it on our PowerPoint and showcase it in our last class.
Yeah, and again, just take this as a fun opportunity to explore your creativity and your ideas. I'm sure if you guys like as we've built so many apps, you guys have already thought of so many different ideas, like so many different games to play around with and create. Use that to the test. Make those kind of apps. We want to see those kind of apps because at the end of the day, it's all about the learning, right? This is just another opportunity for you guys to explore what you guys are interested in.
And so just as a quick reminder for how it's going to look next week. So next week we'll be spending a majority of our time basically showcasing your guys' apps. So this is how it will look like. And we'll get into what kind of information you need to submit. But basically, we'll have a screen recording. We'll have the name of your app. So just give it a name, whatever you want. This is just an example, but you'll have your name, your picture, and your screen recording. And so, like I said, this will probably be a majority of your time. So this is how it will look like. And if you don't want to submit your profile picture, that's also fine. But we just um, we just suggest that you submit one just because it looks nice when we're showcasing. And now after this, so we'll get into how to export your project. So to get these screen recordings, we're not asking you to record your own app, and you don't even need to really run your app with an emulator or anything. Uh, we'll just show you how to export your project, and then we'll do the rest. So we'll get into he'll share a screen and show you guys how to export your project. You guys don't have to do it right now, but just this will also have a recording. So just make sure to pay attention and listen to how we're doing it so that when you do it by yourself, it makes more sense. Anyway, so just as a recap for next week since like it's our last week, we won't be building in another app. The trivia app that we'll be building today is our last app. And so next week we'll also have a keynote speaker just for like 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning of the class. Um, he will probably be there just to talk about his experiences with building mobile apps, just to inspire all of you. So most likely will be a really interesting conversation or really interesting kind of lecture. So we're hoping that you guys just stay for the entire class. It'll also be 1 hour long, just like usual. But the keynote speaker will just be in the beginning, and then the rest of the time we'll just take the time to talk about our app, like go through the slides of the app showcase. We won't really have anybody like any of you guys talking about the app. We'll just go through the slides and we'll play the game or like play the recording, and we'll talk about like we'll mention your name. We'll also talk about your app. And then the last thing we'll be talking about in our last session tomorrow or next week will be just beyond intro to app building, beyond this course, what you can do, how you can expand your skills, basically. And so it'll just be a small conversation about that. And yeah. And so now I'll get into, but before we get into any of the building our app today or building the UI, we'll quickly go over like a recap of, or not recap and some introducing some new concepts. So like last week we talked about if and else statements. So just as a recap, like imagine if you were like just like I said, I gave an example last week about kicking a soccer ball. So if you were to kick a soccer ball, then it would move. That kind of a situation. So it's an if statement is basically a statement of saying if something happens, then do this action. So if I kick the ball, then the ball should move. And then we also talked about an if then else statement block, which we used in our Pong app, which basically says if something happens, then do this. But if it does not happen, like if anything else happens, like if I don't kick the ball or if I throw the ball, what happens? And that's where the else statement comes in place. So uh, the if is the condition, like what will I be doing? And then the then statement is the action. And then finally, the else is just another action, but uh, it only happens if you don't do what the initial statement says. So For example, if I kick a soccer ball, then the ball should move. If I don't kick the soccer ball or if I throw the ball, uh, it will do something else. That kind of situation. So that's just a recap. Now, so we'll get into the new concepts for this week.
Yeah. So what we're gonna talk about today, and we're gonna be using a lot, is something called lists. So a list is essentially just something that stores information. Okay. So for example, a list could be apple, orange, mango. So apple would be the first element. In lists, we have the first item is called an element. Then there's orange and there's mango. You could put more fruits or whatever, right? A list could be anything. It could store images, it could store videos, it could store fruits, it could store, I don't know, toys, anything. It can literally store information inside a list, right? So what we have is another concept called index. And what index is it tells us what is the or what is the element inside that list. For example, Apple has the index of 1 because it's the first element inside the list. Orange has an index of 2 because it's the second element inside the list. This can go on and on, right? So if we have a list with just 3 fruits, apple, orange, mango, apple would be index 1, orange would be index 2, mango would be index 3. So all you have to basically understand, just a quick summary, list stores information and an index tells you where that piece of information is stored. For example, Apple would be index 1, which tells you that it's the first item in the list. So we're going to be using a list inside the Trivia app today. So what we do here is, for example, one block is called make a list. And what make a list will do is it'll evidently create a list, but then inside those 2 blocks over there, you can put in information. So for example, we could put in make a list and then add, we could add, for example, a string that says apple, or we could add a text that says orange. And then what you'll have is you'll have a list that says apple, orange. And then we can even add more elements to the list. Like for example, mango, or we could add pear or a plum. We can just add that to the list, and then the list increases with more fruits. And then so the next block we're going to be discussing is select item list. So what that does is it'll select an item from the list. So for example, if we have a list, right? Let's say this list that we have over here has 3 fruits, apple, orange, and mango. And the list is called fruits. What we want to do is we want to say, can I take that list real quick? So what I'll do is select list item list. We'll essentially get the list that we have. So it'll take the list called fruits. And once we have the list called fruits, we want to get apple. And apple is at index 1. So what we'll say inside this block is select list item list fruits, which goes to the list of fruits. And then it says index of 1, which will go to apple. So essentially, all this block does is it'll get the list. So for example, the list of fruits, and then specify the index. And when we specify the index, we'll know which fruit we want to get. So if we say index 1, we'll get apple. If we want index 2, we'll get orange. And if we want index 3, we'll get mango. So again, lists just store information. Index tells you where we can grab which piece of information inside that list. And if you have any questions about lists or indexes, just type it up in the Q&A and we'll answer them.
We'll be demoing the Trivia app now, so we'll quickly show you guys the recording. As I mentioned before, we have 2 screens. One is the start screen, and once you click start, there'll be a couple questions or a few questions. So for example, like who is the god of the sea? There'll be a place to type in your answer and click submit. And if you're right, you'll get correct. And then you can also click next to go to the next question. And then just like this other question, click submit. If it's correct, it'll show it's correct. If there's another question and you answer wrong, for example, you type something else like that and click submit, it'll say sorry, that's incorrect. One thing to know about today, since this is a really complex app, we really want to teach you guys all the different concepts that are in this app. So we won't be doing like score. So like the score aspect of the app or the score feature, since we've already done that in past classes, I'm sure you guys can add on to the Trivia app by yourself, as well as the try again feature where it comes back to the first question. So the basis of what we'll be getting to today is start screen questions, correct or incorrect, those couple features like try again or like restarting the game or show your score will be done. You guys can do it yourself. We're just trying to get everything done today, and then show you how to build a really complex app like Trivia. Once again, just like usual, we're gonna go to this link right here. I'll quickly paste it in the chat for you guys to see. It's the code.appinventor.mit.edu/login. So just get to the screen just like usual. And then we'll be going just a little bit faster so that we get to everything today. If you had a revisit code from before, make sure to enter that. If you have your own account, or if you just want to go with a private account, just like a guest account, just click continue with that account if you forgot your password. I'll quickly just sign in with my own account. But I'll wait for everyone to get logged in as well.
And as San mentioned, for the score and the try again, we want you guys to try that and try to see if you can do that and figure that out by yourself. But worst case, if you cannot, the solution essentially would be inside the recording of the video. So try, first of all, the first thing you should do is you should, once you're done with everything we built inside class, you should try that inside your own app and just try to find how to do the try again and score button. But if you can't do that, then you can always go to the recording and figure out the solution from there. But again, try it yourself first.
And I'll just wait another minute for people to get logged in and everything. All right, so just go to your project. At the top left, go click a start new project. I'll just name this Trivia. Hope I spelled that right. Okay, yeah, just Trivia. Make sure not to include any like exclamation marks. But yeah, I'll just call it Trivia. And I'll move into the app. So as a quick refresher on the UI, we'll have a start screen. So at the top, make sure your first screen is just called screen 1. And this will be the start screen itself. So right there. So the first thing we want to do is change the background. I've decided to change it to a like a space background color. So to do that, I'll choose my own image. So make sure you've selected screen 1. And if you go to screen 1 and under properties, there's a thing that says background image. So if you click on that, and you can upload your own file, just go to Soho will send in the chat a link to a space background. So it's bit.ly/space im, and you can choose any space background, but this is what I did. So just once again, go to bit.ly/space im. And once you do that, and Sola sent it in the chat if you don't know that, just save the image as whatever you want. I'll just call it space. Go back to MIT App Inventor, upload file, choose file, and then just upload your image wherever you've saved it. So I'll quickly upload it, then click OK. So now that we've done that, and you guys may see like a green bar on the side, don't worry about that. That's just it's just kind of a glitch that happens sometimes. So don't worry about that. You guys can also just use a black background or a dark blue background. It doesn't really matter. I've just chosen this space background. The next thing we want to do is drag in a label. And just like usual, it usually ends up on the left, the top left. So instead, we want to move to the center and the middle. So to do that, just go to screen 1, click on screen 1 under components. Under properties, go to align horizontal and click center. So it's hard to see. I'll quickly change the color of the text. To do that, just go to label, and properties, just change it to like yellow or something. So just so we can see it. And in space, uh, in the space screen one, you just want to go to align vertical. So we already did align horizontal to center it, and then in align vertical, you want to center it again. So now that it's all in the center, we'll have the trivia label, and we'll also add a button. So before we add the button, we can just change the font size, just increase the size a little bit. I'll change it to 30 maybe, and I'll change it to say trivia with a couple exclamation marks, something like that. And if you want to like make it look a little fancy, you can under properties, you can even bold it by checking this box that says font bold. You can italicize it, things like that. Anything you really want to do. And then in addition to that, we'll be adding a button. So just go ahead and underneath the label, drag in your button. We want to match the color of the label. So we'll just go to background color, click yellow. It can be red or dark gray or whatever you really want, but I'll just make it yellow. I'll change the text of the button to click like start. I'll say start. So that text there in the start text is a little bit small. I'll change it to like 25. And you just like the label, you can have your own changes. You can bold your text. You can even make it. You can center it. And you can even change the shape of the button. You can do oval. So if you click on button under properties, right where it